shown the death penalty, and Christopher already talked about Troy Davis, which actually I was going to refer to during my speech, but I'm not anymore. But my main claim is that the death penalty is actually counterproductive, and my 3 points that I will be going over is that the death penalty is not foolproof in executing those who are guilty, and that death penalty is also, it fails as a deterrent to stop crimes, and the death penalty is actually really expensive. So in my first point, the death penalty is not foolproof in executing those who are actually guilty of their crimes. Like Christopher said about the Troy Davis case, so I actually found a statistic from the House Judiciary Subcommittee on Civil and Constitutional Rights in 1993 that said that over 130 inmates have already been exonerated from their crimes. So if you don't know what exonerated means, Richard Dieter actually reveals, he's the executive director of the Death Penalty Information Center, he reveals that for someone to be exonerated from their crimes, they have to be convicted of their crimes, and they have to have been sentenced to death. But then afterwards they're free from, either they were acquitted at retrial or all their charges were dropped, or they were given an ultimate pardon from the governor of the state. There was also from the same House Judiciary Subcommittee on Civil and Constitutional Rights, they also revealed that in 1973 and 1999, there was an average of 3 exonerations per year, and from 2000 to 2007, there were 5 exonerations per year. So every year, people were being found innocent for their crimes, or there was new evidence that was added to show that they probably weren't guilty, and they were freed. My second point is that the death penalty fails as a deterrent to stop crimes. So though many states in the United States actually are part of the death penalty, or are pro-death penalty, there are 34 states in the United States who are pro-death penalty, and they actually still exercise the death penalty to murderous people. But California is one of them. And it's actually shown that the United States has a murder rate 6 times that of Britain and 5 times that of Australia. And neither Britain nor Australia practice the death penalty. And there was also a study shown in 1999 by Ernie Thompson, who actually wrote an article called The Effects of an Execution on Homicide in California, that found that capital punishment had failed to deter crimes, and that there was actually a significant increase in stranger killings and homicide rates after a death penalty had been reinstated. And it's also shown in a lot of the information that you look for. It says that a lot of the law enforcement throughout the country feel that the death penalty is actually the least effective means of having to deter crimes and having criminals not want to commit murders and stuff like that. The last point is that the death penalty is actually really expensive. In California, it is really expensive just to keep the death penalty running. And in California, the death penalty system costs taxpayers $114 million per year. And this is beyond the cost of keeping convicts locked up for life with no chance of parole. And California taxpayers also have to pay $250 million per execution. And though since 1976, when the death penalty was reinstated in California, there's only been 13 executions. And death row in California actually has about 721 inmates counting, so they're just all waiting and they're just spending money. They're not going anywhere. But the death penalty's expenses are just a lot more than just keeping the convict locked up for life. And it's about $1 million more than just with the death penalty than just keeping a convict in jail with no chance of parole. So I feel that the death penalty is actually just counterproductive. There's no way of for sure accounting for all the inmates that are in death row right now to make sure that they are actually guilty of their crimes. And death penalty. Also, there's no studies that for sure show that the death penalty will stop more criminals by keeping the death penalty open, and the death penalty is actually really expensive, or more expensive than keeping a convict up, just locked up in jail without the possibility of parole.
All right, well, the structural stuff is all fine. You've got a clear statement of the proposition. There's a good preview. Your internal signposting, that's all good. The evidence is a little bit inconsistent. You've got some statistical data on executions that gets some source citation. There's some cost data that doesn't always get cited. You've got a couple of examples that you refer to. So I think you've got the information in the speech, but you're not always getting the source citation in there. Excuse me, on the presentation issues, it sounds sometimes like you're fading out on your argument. You start off with a pretty, effective way of talking, and then you get into and then I'm done with that. Let's move on to the next thing. And you're not selling the idea, and you're not convincing there. So you gotta work on a little bit more consistency on that. All right, thank you.